I listened to a podcast this morning, and there's a little snippet that really stood out to me. And it's the story about Moses. And it's a great story. And there's more to it that I will tell you at another time because it really impacted my life very, very deeply. And here come the geese again. Hey, guys. Oh, it's beautiful outdoors here. But it was about the rods that God gave to Moses, and of course it became, I think, then the rod of Aaron, and they carried it in the Ark of the Covenant, like different things in there. I think that was part of what was in there eventually. But I had to think about this, and I had to think about, man, I got a rod. Check this out. This is my rod, one of about two I have, I think, and I will tell you a story about this rod, or in general, because it made me think of another story I will share in a moment. So this rod was carved by me. I have different carvings in here. And back in Switzerland, I did some gent events. I do those here in the States, where I just gathered together with friends. And I open the space. I'm the facilitator, and I just invite. And we make food. We make a fire. We sit around. We have conversation. We share our hearts, those that want to. Sometimes could be an input or something somebody wants to talk about, or I talk about or share. And sometimes that's not even necessary, because all you need to create is the space to get people together. And then I'm always amazed when you invite people and they come, and that what happens in between. It's the in between is it more important than the event itself, because you see people meeting, talking to each other, getting to know each other, starting a conversation, maybe a friendship, whatever. They meet otherwise. They needed a space to be introduced. Very informal and just very from the heart. But that's what can happen. And then you just watch as the facilitator or the organizer. You just watch, like, what's going on over there? What's going on over there? This is great. And you don't have to do much. Sometimes we overthink it, where we want to overdo stuff and think like we have to plan every detail. I remember when we did our first events here in the States, we kept a lot of space specifically open for food or coffee or whatever. And we're not used to that, because we're like, we want to schedule, we want to do A, B, C, D, and get out of here. And I had to actually, literally, we had to start to drag people back into the room or the next thing that we planned, because they enjoyed themselves so much being with other people in the in-between space. Saying all of this, I did two events that had a topic, and we talked about, one was about David's Mighty Man or something like that, Man of Honor, I don't remember. But one of them, we actually had the idea, so I had a team with me, and it was team of friends, and we incorporated stuff at these events, not because to be cool or like trendy, simply because I asked my team, like, what do you have on your heart? And I will share more about this another time, because there's some really great ideas that you need to hear about. And I think it was one person like, hey, let's get rods from the forest and let's do some carving, whittling, cutting. And I'm like, okay. So that was the original idea. And so eventually somebody got these rods from the forest. I contacted Victorinox Swiss Army Knives and asked them if they can sponsor some knives. And they did, which was great. So every participant had a Swiss Army knife, which I don't have here right now. I should have a pocket knife, dang it. That's all we need as the Swiss Army. We defend ourselves with the Army knives. We don't need weapons. We have a knife. And utility knives, and stuff you can do. So anyway, and so my friend Etienne Toussaint actually had an input about, it was auf dem Kerbholz haben. I think that was the input. And it loosely translated means having a past, having not a clean slate. And why I say this is because it's been a while. But he basically said, look, we're broken people. We all have a past. We all make mistakes. We all are marked. We have stuff in our lives that God wants to heal. Life is hard. Life is tough at times. The ABCs, 1, 2, 3 steps sometimes don't work for everybody. The story is individual. And sometimes people talk about something that is true and right, but if they haven't really walked through it themselves. You have no authority, no power, no right actually to talk about that. Even though it's the truth, if you haven't lived through it, forget about it. Don't talk about it. Let somebody talk about it that actually went through this. Saying all of this makes me think. I just watched this movie, Robin Hood, a newer version, and it was the sheriff of Nottingham talking about, we need to support the Crusades and the soldiers there because it's tough and hard, and they need blah blah blah. And then he was speaking as he was one of them and there and how it is. And I think Lady Marian said, "But you haven't been there. How do you know? You're here. Everything's nice. You just hear about it, talk about it, might want to do the right thing, but you're not there. You haven't lived through it, so shut up." Saying this, we actually opened the space, and we didn't know where this was going. Sometimes you have an idea of like, my God, so what are we going to do now? We had passed out the knives. Here's the rods. And we said, look, whatever in this time that we give you want to do it, carve in there parts of your life, parts of your story, of your history, something that maybe needs to get off your chest, off your heart. Carve it in here. And the people listened. And at the end, had a great input. But also, I think people, their hearts were moved. And actually for 1.5, 2 hours, you heard nothing. Just, you hear the sound of the knives, stuff like that. And putting stuff in here, and I did so too. I have random things. I put some things here I can grab it. And this is like, evil prevails if good men do nothing. I didn't even finish the last one yet. But anyway, stuff that meaningful. And actually, it did something to those guys, and it was beautiful. And they were able to take something home and remember. And I remember that time. I will never forget it. And now you know about it. And those who were there, maybe some of you watching, is like, I was there. I got my rod. And why is the rod important? A rod you can touch things. I got this. I have this in my truck for a reason, because there was I don't know if it was a coyote, if it was a weird fox right in front around the house. And I just needed something just in case. With the Swiss Army knife doesn't work to defend myself with a rod or a staff. And now it's in my trunk, and I can use it when I go on hikes. But you can steady yourself. You can reach something. You can fence something off, right? It's a protective element. If you're really good with this, you can actually do some, not just defend, you can actually do some damage. Anyway, I had to think of Jacob. And Jacob, it says that he wrestled with God, or an angel, or God came in the form of an angel, all through the night. And at the end of the fight, or the wrestling, God asked him, "Who are you?" And it's like, who are you? God doesn't know who this guy is. Of course God knows, but that's not the point. Remember the story real quick of Jacob, because he was a liar. He was a thief. He was a con man. He was not a good guy. Everything that he accumulated and had is because of theft and because of trickery and dishonesty. That's what his life was like. And so he got the firstborn right from his father, Isaac, because he lied to his dad. Because he asked him the questions, "Who are you? Who are you? Are you Esau? Are you my son?" And he said, "Yes, I'm Esau." He lied. So I heard this somewhere the other day, and it really spoke to me, because I never thought of it that way, because it had to do with identity. And here's Jacob, right? Not a clean slate. He had something auf dem Kerbenholz, he had not a clean slate. And he had to come clean with God. And God asked him, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Jacob. I am the thief. I am the con man. I am the crook. I am all of this. And I'm at the end of my road. End of my rope and roads and rods, end of my rod." And he, instead of lying to God now, he actually finally faced his demons. He faced who he was really. His identity said, "I am all of this, and I'm sorry, and I'm repentant." And God met him there, and he marked him. He marked him. How did he mark him? He walked away with a limp. He was never the same, and he changed his name too. You're not Jacob anymore. You're Israel, because you wrestle with God. and you you can live to tell, because nobody wrestles with God and lives except Jacob, who is now Israel, and the father of many nations, as it was promised to him. So he came clean with his slate, and he carved it in his staff. I don't know how it worked, but he did. And he embraced his new identity, but he had to let go of his old identity and let it, let it be buried and get on with it. Embrace the new life and the calling and the purpose that God had for him all along. But he was fighting God, and finally he was not fighting anymore. And he walked away with a limp. And I had this for another time. Don't trust anybody who's not limping, because if you're marked by life, you limp, and it's okay. You're broken, and it's okay. And I have more about that to say. But he needed probably a rod to steady himself, because he couldn't walk straight anymore. So I want to encourage you, come away with a clean slate. Maybe you've been running, maybe you've been fighting, don't know why, all your life. I'm one of those. I've been fighting things for the longest time, till I finally had to come clean with certain things and embrace my maker, so to speak. And it helps being out here doing that. Just wanted to share this story about my rod, about being marked, being broken, and being restored for God's purpose. Because at the end, Jacob, Israel, finally came in his destiny. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. That's my perspective. Talk to you soon.